Welcome to Digital Asset News. I get top stories in crypto and bring them out a bite-sized piece. Today, as the thumbnail suggests, the U.S. House Committee is having a showdown between themselves and some titans in the crypto industry. We're going to take a look at exactly what is said in these hearings. And there's just a couple of snippets that we're going to take away from this 3-hour-long interview process. Also, we're going to take a look at, I need to do an update to the video we talked about yesterday as far as MELD and the ISPO, or the initial stake pool offering, of what it means to have these NFTs and why it's going to close down. And lastly, we'll take a look at FTX, the exchange, and why they're having no gas fees for all of their NFTs. And then lastly, we'll take a look at some upcoming deep dives. So before we get into that, let's take a look at what's going on in the market. So today, it is Wednesday, pretty great day here in Puerto Rico. There's a blockchain event going on right now. I'm probably not going to go today. Too many things going on. But in the market itself, we're looking at almost 2.4 trillion. We've actually slid down even more so. And Bitcoin price is 50.7. Average daily sentiment still pretty neutral, which is pretty surprising. I think there's some people out there that just don't really care about the price. They're just like, whatever, just give me to 100,000 because I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen at some point. And that's a legitimate response, because we've been getting kicked in the teeth lately with the different volatility. But hey, it's crypto and that's what it's all about. So Bitcoin's 50.7. There's no real big losers or winners today. In 24 hours, I mean, 2% and 1%. These are rookie traditional finance numbers. Nobody cares about this. Uniswap's up 5%. Watch out. That's pretty good. I mean, honestly, Near Protocol 25%. No idea why. Who knows? EOS up 16%. Probably some announcement. That's for the top 50. That's what's happening. So that's what it is in the market. There's nothing really earth-shattering or anything going on. Kind of hoping December would have been a more exciting month. But you know, it's a funny thing, because like with crypto, like nothing happens for a little bit. Then all of a sudden something just explodes, and all of a sudden everybody's like super excited. So we'll see if that actually happens before the end of the year. So that's what we got right there. But the big story today is what's going on in the U.S. committee, and what's happening as far as them being interviewed or interviewing these crypto titans or these crypto CEOs. So what I like about this is that, first of all, there's Sam Bankman-Fried, and he is the CEO of FTX, and it's him and Brian Brooks and Miss Haas from, she's a CFO of Coinbase. Also, they got some people from the Stellar Network and a lot of different people to come in there and talk to the committee and make them understand what it all is as far as cryptocurrency, blockchain, digital assets, how this needs to be put forth in the forefront and actually do something about it, instead of just tiptoeing around the actual subject. And let's get some real concrete ideas and a little bit of regulation. I know people are scared about that, but let's just stop tiptoeing around it. Give us some parameters, and then we'll see what we can do. It's just like taxes, right? When you know what you're going to be taxed on, then of course you can say, okay, well, that's what you're going to give to me. Well, here's some ways that I can minimize my taxes. Now that I know exactly what you want from me, now I can do whatever I want to do as far as legally, and do these things that I need to do to make myself better. So this is, I think, an important day, or part of the important days. What I like about this is it's not, you just don't have somebody like SEC Chairman Gary Gensler or Janet Yellen coming in and talking about how crypto is it's awful, and we need to really regulate just live in tar of it, and everything's a security and blah, blah, blah. I was not a big fan of this, because this was the first kind of interaction that the House Committee got as far as like what cryptocurrency is. And now they're getting a different perspective. And I think to really sum this up, there was 3 points here that caught my attention. The first one is, this is Ms. Haas. She is the CFO of Coinbase. And she's going to talk to them about how, look, anything can be tokenized. And you have to understand exactly what that means. Because I think a lot of these people, I know they're trying to play catch up. They really are. And if you take a look at the average age of some of these House Committee members, you're like, wow, I can't believe you're actually driving. But I mean, here, they have to understand what digital assets are. I think Ms. Haas kind of lays it all out. So just take a listen.
Important to share that anything can be tokenized, any item of value. And this is the internet of value that we're talking about with Web 3.0. So the early things that we're talking about are the protocol layer. Over the protocol layer, we see infrastructure being built, and then we see applications being built as the next layer. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Stellar, Solana, these are all important protocol layers that we're talking about. And on top of these, we see applications. So an interesting article was published yesterday that gaming platforms, so video games that many of you may play, your children may play, gaming where NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which means they're different. Every token is different. Think about a shield or a sword or something of value, are being most accurately traded. And it was a significant percent of the assets in DeFi, decentralized finance, in November were traded in apps. And so we're seeing all types of things. We've had early conversations with real estate developers to get broader global liquidity, more liquid markets for tokens. We've seen a lot of innovation in the payment space and a lot of innovation in NFTs with digital art. But this is just the tip. And I think just like back in the early 90s when we were thinking about the internet and we couldn't envision Uber, we don't know what the future is. And there's so much ahead of us.
Yeah, so if they weren't confused before, I'm sure they're really confused right now. Hopefully some of them actually picked up a little piece of that. But the most important thing, there was two things to me. First of all, we did a video, me and CTO Larson. If you haven't listened to him, go check out his channel. I'll link it below. He says you couldn't invest into the protocol of the internet back in the early 90s. You couldn't invest into HTTPS. You couldn't invest into any kind of underlying structure that was a protocol. But now with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and things like that, you can invest in the protocol. And that's exactly what she said right there. And the last thing was the most telling, which was we don't know, we can't envision what's actually going to be in the future as far as crypto and digital assets and where it actually is really taking us, as she compared it to the 90s. And to really prove my point, I want you to watch this snippet. This is Bill Gates and Letterman, and they're talking about the internet when it first came about. It's like in the mid 90s, and how laughable it is then, which is exactly where we're, not exactly, but pretty much where we're at right now with crypto. So check this out.
But I think about this, and what about this internet thing? Do you know anything about that?
Sure.
What the hell is that exactly?
Well, it's become a place where people are publishing information.
Right.
So everybody can have their own homepage. Companies are there, the latest information. It's wild what's going on. You can send electronic mail to people. It is the big new thing.
Yeah, but it's easy to criticize something you don't fully understand, which is my position here.
Go ahead.
But I can remember a couple of months ago, there was like a big breakthrough announcement that on the internet or on some computer deal, they were going to broadcast a baseball game. You could listen to a baseball game on your computer. And I just thought to myself, does radio ring a bell? You know what I mean?
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
It's not a huge difference.
What is the difference?
You can listen to the baseball game whenever you want.
Right.
Too.
Oh, I see. So it's stored in one of your memory deals.
Exactly.
And then you can come
That's the
back a year
RAM thing
later.
you talked about earlier.
Yeah. Do tape recorders ring a bell? I just don't know.
So yeah, pretty much laughable. And the whole thing that I brought this to your attention was because the way that we got around this with the internet is because we had a little bit of regulation, but we weren't super heavy-handed in it. We didn't like pass out all these like crushing things that stifle innovation. We allowed the internet to flourish, and that's why we brought things forth. And that's why we have like, Silicon Valley over in California. We can do all these great things with the internet because we allowed these things to happen. If we don't do these things and we stifle innovation, that's okay, because there's plenty of other countries which would love to pick up all of the scraps around and just, I shouldn't say scraps, but the actual businesses that are blockchain technology go, if you guys aren't going to do it, don't worry, this is the future. We'll take care of that. We'll also take care of AI because you don't know what the heck's going on with there. So we're going to do all these things and we'll just push you off the side. And that is one of the big things that they're talking about. So that was the first part. And the second part, I found quite interesting. Brian Brooks, this is the former OCC, the Officer of the Comptroller of the Currency, and he laid it out and said, look, let's just talk about what is going to allow for projects to succeed, and it comes down to true decentralization. And this is a pretty good point as to what we should all be looking for as far as investors for crypto products. So just take a listen.
Mr. Lugemeyer, I'll do you one better on your hypothetical, which is we've now seen major banks deplatforming both industries and individual customers for not sharing the right point of view. So these are scary ideas. The point of crypto is to have true decentralization, and the projects that succeed will be the projects that achieve that. Bitcoin succeeded because there are literally millions of participants in the node network, and so there is no CEO of Twitter to deplatform you. There's no CEO of JP Morgan to take away your credit card. it's user control. Some of these won't achieve that. They'll be consigned to the ash heap of history, I predict.
So there's that, and there's a couple of things I didn't really bring to your attention as far as like these clips. And a couple of those were, I wish there was like a fact checker when they had these hearings, which also I like to see like fact checkers when we have like presidential debates because it's just too crazy. But there was a couple of times when we heard the same song and dance, which was, cryptocurrency is being used for illicit activities and drug wars and cartels and terrorism. And I just wish there was somebody just to step in and go, correction, really what is being used there is the US dollar, and that's the majority of what's being used, so don't put that in there. That's totally incorrect. And then there's a couple of different things that would just be great if someone could just go, that's not right. But it is a hearing, so that is, it is what it is. And then the last one I'll make mention of is, again, Brian Brooks comes out and he says, it's all really comes down to the US dollar, because a lot of the different discussions were, well, we don't like these stable coins, we don't like cryptocurrency because it's going to take away from the strength of the US dollar as the reserve currency, which they are the government, so that would probably be a pretty good argument for them to make, because they're like, we don't want to lose power. But Brooks puts in a very eloquent way as why they need to do this as compared to not doing it, and it's actually going to help the US dollar. Take a listen.
Mr. Lukemeyer, it's terrific to see you again, and I'd give you a couple of thoughts on that important question. One is, if we start with stable coins before we talk about other crypto assets, I've said for a long time that the secular reduction in dollar holdings as a percentage of global central bank holdings is alarming. And this has been going on for more than 10 years at this point. So dollars as a share of the European Central Bank, the Japanese Central Bank, et cetera, has shrunk from 80+% to more like 60+% in a short amount of time. What that tells me is that in the future, with the rise of China and other major economies, the US dollar can't take its primacy for granted, and we need to start thinking about competing on utility, on features, not just based on a post-World War II monetary system that we could take for granted for the last 2 generations. And that's one of the reasons that I've been such a supporter of internet-enabled dollars, which allow us to compete on features, not only on history. I think that's really critically important. The second thing I would tell you is, as we enter year 11 or 12 of a highly inflationary environment, after all, we've been printing enormous numbers of new dollars since the financial crisis, there will come a time, gradually then suddenly, when the attractiveness of the dollar relative to other currencies could change. One of the benefits of the crypto economy is that it creates some counter incentives on the part of the Fed to do that kind of policy, because people will flee to other kinds of assets. And that sort of market competition is something that I think will ultimately shore up our monetary policy and keep the dollar where it rightfully ought to be, which is as the dominant reserve currency it's been for all of our lives.
Perfect. Basically what he's saying here is that there's so much quantitative easing. Who is going to put in check the Federal Reserve? Is it you, Congressman? Is it you, Congresswoman, who's actually going to do that? Or could we just let that out to the actual markets, because we are in a free market society? So if we have somebody to actually check it on the outside, such as Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency you want to do, then it will regulate this monetary policy, and we can all go forward and not lose this reserve currency as it stands forth right now. And really just comes down to who watches the watchmen, right? Who is going to put the Federal Reserve in check, because they wield a lot of power. And remember, the Federal Reserve is about as federal as Federal Express. They are not part of the U.S. government. The Treasury is. So when he says these types of things, I'm sure at some level, I'm sure these congressmen and women are probably like, I don't know about that. But in reality, it has to happen. Because if it doesn't happen, we're just going to go down the same path we've always been going down. So that's what we got right there for that piece. Let me know what you think about that in the comments section. Let's move on to our last piece. First of all, the MELD redo. And yesterday I was talking about the MELD ISPO, initial stake pool offering, and that it's over, and you're going to get an NFT, and you're going to do it Evolve, and it's going to do all these things for staking. And it was like, I forget, unfortunately, that some people aren't at that point yet where they kind of understand. So I need to slow this down. I apologize for yesterday. So here's what it is. So first of all, I really just got to tell you this. If this all comes down to this, like I said, the stake pool offering, the first thing you have to understand is what is proof of work and what is proof of stake. in this video, I want to keep this under an hour, so I'm not even going to do this. What I want to have you do, I'm going to have you go to danteachescrypto.com, and then you're going to see a video, and it's going to pop up on that screen, look like this, or it's going to actually, if you scroll down, it'll pop up down here. It's the same video. You can watch. It's about 23 minutes, and it explains what is the difference between proof of work and proof of stake, how Cardano does things, how it doesn't leave your wallet, how you get rewards, how you can stake and unstake, and use 3 different wallets, Yoroi, ADA Lite, and Daedalus wallet to do that. So it's going to show you how to take it from any place that you have your Cardano, your ADA tokens, and you can put them in one of these 3 wallets, and you can stake it. So that's the first part you have to understand. The second part is what is MELD token and what does it do? So MELD, it's a DeFi project that gives out loans, and these loans are going to be able to pay for themselves, and all you have to do is pay for the interest, not the principal. And I know it sounds crazy. Just watch this video and I explain exactly what that is with the CEO or the founder, Ken, and we go over everything that has to do with that. So what had happened, just to fast forward real quick, is this stake pool offering. What you did was, back here when I was talking about taking your Cardano and staking into a certain stake pool, what you were doing is, instead of staking it to my stake pool, you and everybody else could take your Cardano and stake it, or just designate it to these stake pools, which are MELD. And instead of you getting paid in ADA, you were going to get paid in MELD token, which will launch on January 31st. So the stake pool, every 5 days you would get so much MELD. They're going to give those to you on January 31st. That whole staking process came to an end yesterday. So now you're able to take your tokens, do whatever you want with them. If you want to take it back to the D news, that's fine. So you have that. And the next part was they just released this. Everybody who staked with the stake pool got an NFT. And the NFTs, what does that do? I mean, if NFTs, it's great to have them as far as like it looks real cool and everything else, but really it comes down to what's the utility. And what it really came down to was this. Anybody who has an NFT, you're going to start here as a bank manager, and you're going to get a plus 1% MELD when you designate your MELD tokens to the MELD stake pool, which comes up. Don't have to know too much about that right now. All you need to know is that you're going to get an NFT. And the question, and there was different levels, they would evolve. You get plus 2%, plus 3%, plus 4, and plus 5. And they would look, the NFTs would look something like this guy right here, okay? A little picture of a guy, that's a bank manager, a little picture. And it's going to go to your wallet. But I was wrong in what I said. I thought they were just going to drop them. And I had to reach out to MELD and I said, hey, how does this work? I said, I just read the article from Stuart on the bank managers. Are they going to be dropped in the wallet, meaning that your Daedalus, Yoroi, or ADA Lite wallet that you use to designate your ADA to their pool? Are you just going to drop those NFTs into those wallets? I said, no, there will be a mining function on our bank manager website where you'll be able to mint and then receive it in the wallet you staked with. So you have to go to a website, you have to put in your information, and they'll give you the NFT wallet. And I said, well, great. When's it going to be up? They said, maybe sometime this week. That's all I know. So I will let everybody know about that later. And then just so you know, the big thing was, well, how do I go from, from this plus 1%, plus 2%, plus 3? They're going to say, you can just do plus 1%, but you can also what's called evolve it. And one way to do it is you can just take it back. You can take it out of these pools because these pools are all shutting down. All of them are shutting down. There's going to be one more epic and then they're all shut down. So you have to put your Cardano somewhere. Again, if you want to designate that with D News, fantastic. Also, there's some Sunday swap things going on. Go check that out. But right here, it says to evolve your NFT for those new levels, if you want to, you can go to IAMX, Maladex, Occam, ISPO. You can go to Digital Asset News, Pete, or the Cardano Convo podcast, or a bunch of these other ones down here. These are just the preferred ones. So that is it in a nutshell. So if you don't understand anything about staking, first of all, watch the video on staking, then watch the video on MELD, and it'll kind of lay it out in a better fashion than I did yesterday. So that's what we have there. Let me know what you think about that, and then let's finish up with a little no gas. So real quickly, FTX. FTX, if you don't know, this guy right here, Sam Bankman-Fried, He was the CEO of FTX, and they actually reached out to me yesterday. They go, "Hey, would you want to talk about the fact that we are not requiring gas fees for all of our NFTs, and we've got Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Apes, and all those different things, and we're not going to have any gas fees?" And I was like, "Sure. I mean, you know, Sam is testifying tomorrow, so I guess that's the least I could do. I have no affiliate links, and they didn't pay me for this, so I'll link it in the description below, but it's just ftx.us if you want to do this." And that's what we got. But it's pretty cool because if you go to like OpenSea, you're going to pay gas fees and all the rest of those things, which kind of sucks if you're going to mint things. But over here, they have Solana and they have Ethereum-based NFTs, and they got a bunch of them. So you can go and check it. That's pretty cool. Jungle Cats, Little Rocks, Soul Ninjas, 0.04 Solana. That's not bad. I don't know what they do, but sure. That's just gambling. But yeah, you can check that out. And then here was the actual post. This is from Brett Harrison. He's the prez of FTX US. I think it was number 5 where he said it. He goes, "Yeah, hey, we support bidding and buy now for ETH NFTs. And since those transactions happen off-chain, there will be no gas fees charged. Seller fees are 2% though, plus creator royalties. We're subsidizing withdrawal gas fees." So if you're looking for a place to actually pick up some NFTs and not pay gas fees, that's your choice. And that's what we got. And then lastly, just so you know, we're going to do some upcoming deep dives. And I'm going to talk about, there's a bunch of different things. First, I'm going to do a deep dive about Avagachi, which is actually more complex for a very simple game. Very complex stuff. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it. I'm also going to talk about Cornucopias, which is a metaverse built on blockchain. We're going to take a look at Wonder.fi, ADA Finance, and there was one more, Boson Protocol. So I'm going to do those 5 deep dives over the next week and 2 weeks, and that's it for today. So look, I know it went a little bit long, and I apologize, but a lot of things going on. If you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing. A lot of things we talk about are time sensitive, and that's it for today. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.